desert before his public ministry and observe Lent, a period of fasting and preparation lasting 40 days. Except not really. In the easiest bit of fact-checking in history, one can simply look at a calendar, count the number of days between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday, and find out that Lent is actually 46 days long. So what gives? Why do we lie to ourselves each year and say that Lent only lasts 40 days? That is actually a very complicated question that really depends on who you ask. This is Catholicism in Focus. Before we get into the specifics of the question, a quick history lesson, because that's what we do at Catholicism in Focus. While Lent is one of the oldest practices in the Church, its origins are fairly vague. As far back as the 2nd century, writers like Irenaeus and Tertullian mentioned a period of fasting before the celebration of Easter, but it was much shorter than today, usually only 40 hours, not 40 days. By the 4th century, we know that a 40-day period of fasting was almost universally practiced, as the Council of Nicaea mentioned it in its canons. But the specifics of the way it was practiced or how it was counted is unknown. What we do know is that by the 6th century, the East and West were approaching the issue differently. In the East, the fasting began 8 weeks prior to Easter and included only weekdays, while the West began 7 weeks prior and fasted Monday through Saturday each week. Why the East didn't count Saturdays is not exactly clear, although it could be a carryover from a time when Jewish Christians celebrated both the Jewish Sabbath and the Lord's Supper. The important fact for our question is that neither church ever considered Sunday a day of fasting. In fact, dating all the way back to the year 110, the Church has actually forbidden the practice of fasting on Sundays, as it's always the celebration of the resurrection. Of course, even without counting Sundays, we can see that the Western practice didn't add up to exactly 40, rather 42, showing that the number 40 served more as a symbolic reference than a literal prescription. Either that, or they were just really bad at math. Whatever the reason, Pope Gregory the Great eventually shifted the start of the fast from Monday to Wednesday, rounding the number to 40 days. He's also believed to be the first one to encourage the other bishops to sprinkle ashes as a general practice, marking a potential origin for our celebration today. And for many, this explanation from the 6th century serves as a logical answer to why we still consider Lent 40 days. If we start from Ash Wednesday and go until Easter Sunday, skipping the Sundays in between, we get exactly 40 days. There you go. Easy peasy. Except not. While that answer makes a lot of sense and is held by many theologians, many liturgists disagree. A look to the Missal and Lectionary shows that the days from Ash Wednesday to the first Sunday of Lent are not actually designated Lenten weekdays, like the rest of the season, but rather a weekday after Ash Wednesday. And looking to the end of the season, we see that the Triduum, the 3-day celebration of the Paschal Mystery, isn't considered Lent either, since it's but one ongoing liturgical feast which includes the resurrection. So rather than running from Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday, skipping Sundays, many liturgists will argue that Lent begins with the first Sunday of Lent and runs until the beginning of the Triduum on Holy Thursday, including Sundays, a number of days that also equals 40. So who's right? Well, like I said, it's complicated. Looking to the official statements of the Church, the general norms for the liturgical year and the calendar doesn't exactly support either argument, stating that Lent runs from Ash Wednesday until the Mass of the Lord's Supper exclusive. In other words, start at Ash Wednesday, count Sundays, and end at the Triduum. Neither side is vindicated, and Lent is 43 days long? The issue at hand, and why there are so many different opinions on the matter, is that Lent can at the same time refer to a designated time of fasting, a specific liturgical season, and a general time of preparation. For those concerned with the issue of fasting, our first explanation makes sense. There are 40 days from the time of Ash Wednesday to Easter, excepting Sundays, and including the Paschal fast during Triduum. We fast for 40 days. For those concerned with the specific liturgical season, the time from Ash Wednesday to the first Sunday of Lent offers a sort of pre-season introduction to Lent, something that we used to celebrate for many weeks in the old calendar. And so Lent liturgically runs from the first Sunday until the Triduum, 40 days. But for those who are simply concerned with the general practice of preparing ourselves for the celebration of the resurrection of our Lord, those who recognize that the number 40 is more symbolic than anything, and that the actual number has taken on different forms throughout the years, it doesn't matter if it's 40, 43, or even 46 days. The purpose is the same. Lent is a time to reflect on our lives, reorient ourselves to Christ, and prepare for the waters of rebirth. If that's the case for you, I think I can speak for each of us when I say that we could all use as much time as we can get.